Okay, thanks to the DMG team and good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for joining us on this session. My name is Luvuko Mkaka, as you can probably see on the screen. Two things just before we get started. The first one being, I'd like to just say this is an introductory course to a full workshop. And so we'll be looking at a lot of the ideas in this presentation at a high level. And secondly, because of that, I've asked that the team share with you guys a link where I'd like you to assist me with some feedback on this presentation, which I will then in turn use in our full day workshop. So that being out of the way, let's get started with today's topic, the advantages of providing a standard architectural service, stages 1 to 6. Okay. So the purpose of this workshop is to demonstrate the advantages of providing a standard service, stages 1 to 6. And in doing so, we'll be looking at two questions. The first being, how can we as professionals demonstrate our value? Number two, how can we command higher fees? So this is an idea that, or these are some ideas that I'd like us to think about. And part of the idea in this presentation is to plant some seeds on the importance of demonstrating our value as RPs. So number one, we can demonstrate our professional value by educating our clients about the various services and options that are available to them. And so firstly, we should educate our clients on the types of services that are available to them. I think this is very important for us as professionals because most of our clients don't really know the full scope of our services. And in most cases, from my experience, people come to me looking for a plan. And they say to me, I just want a plan. Fair enough. But I think as a professional, I need to educate my client in terms of the various service options that are available to them. And so we must bear in mind that a client appoints a professional to provide a service for a project as per the Act. And in turn, the architectural professional accepts the appointment. And in accepting that appointment, they then promise to exercise reasonable professional skill, care, and diligence in the performance of that service. And this in turn attracts a fee. And so what we then should know is that the type of service the client chooses should inform the type of appointment that is agreed upon. So I think we should note that it is our duty as professionals to demonstrate the need and the value of our services. From my experience, I've come to find that a client cannot value a product they don't know about. So it's our duty as professionals to educate the market on our product. And it's our duty as professionals to develop in the minds of our clients what architecture and design is about. It's not merely about drawing a plan. And in thinking about this, I think we should assume that our client is not a professional in our field. And so it's our responsibility that we must provide them with the information on the types of services relevant to their project and the types of services available to them. And so many times I know clients are not necessarily looking to be informed, they just want a plan. But we have a duty as a professional to say to them, okay, wait a minute, you want a plan, but these are the services that are available to you. And then leave it up to them whether they want to use that information or not. So it's our duty as professionals to guide our clients in such a way that they can make an informed decision on the type of project they intend to carry out and the realistic costs related to that project. And in thinking about the cost, many clients come thinking that they want to build a house and all they want from you is a plan. And uppermost in their minds is that the bulk of the money they are willing to pay is for the construction of their plan. Whereas I think it's our duty as the professionals to give the client a bigger picture or try to show the client that a project is not merely the construction part, which is stage 5 and 6, but it's an all-encompassing process which starts from stage 1 to 6. And so when they view the cost of the project, they should view it with professionals in mind, that the project cost also includes the services of various professionals. And so that would be the project cost and not just the construction cost. Okay. So Board Notice 91, 2020 refers to the framework for the professional fees guideline in respect of services provided by registered persons in terms of the Act, and describes the professional services and the context within which the services are performed. And so as professionals, we should be cognizant that any type of service we provide to a client falls within a larger context. The law further states, where architectural professionals with registration with SAICAP of other than architect are employed, the service to be rendered and functions to be fulfilled are informed by the identification of works as separately determined by SAICAP, and such appointment may include the following: standard service, partial service, and additional services. So this means any appointment that a professional is going to receive falls within a context of the services outlined by SAICAP. And so it's our duty as the professional to also inform the client that, look, as much as you want me to draw a plan for you, but your plan falls within a particular context, which could be standard service, partial service, or additional service. And so it's very critical that we point that out to a client so that they know that whatever service they're looking for is not in isolation, but has a particular context. And so the standard service is generally divided into 6 work stages, as we all might be familiar with. Stage 1 to 6, inception, the concept design stage, design development, documentation and procurement, construction, and closeout. So that would be the first type of service that we need to inform our clients about. And in so doing, try to contextualize whatever service they're looking for. And if they are, as is very much mostly the case, looking for a plan, you can then start to say, hey, look, what you're looking for is stage 4, documentation. It's a partial service, but you have to realize that you're missing out on stage 1, 2, and 3, and this would be the consequence of doing so. Okay, so the client is looking for a partial service, which is the second type of service. They're not interested in the design phase. They just want a plan. And so fortunately, the SAIBD does provide for partial services, and this provides for the appointment of an architectural professional to fulfill each or any stage of a standard service or parts thereof. And so this would then allow us to then explain to the client, look, what you're looking for is a plan and it's a partial service, and this is where it falls. But that being said, we also have the responsibility or duty to then go beyond that and say, these are the other types of services or partial services that we can offer you as a professional. So the first would be appointment as an architectural professional and principal consultant. The second would be appointment as design architectural professional. Appointment as architectural professional of record, where you'd be maybe taking over a design by others. In this type of scenario, you could also be a principal agent. Number 4, appointment as principal agent only. And number 5, appointment to perform additional services. So any combination of the above appointment may also be agreed upon with the client. And so I think this is something that's very powerful in terms of our engagement with our client, letting them know that even though you want a partial service, I could still offer to you an additional service. For instance, that could be site inspections, or I could act as principal agent during construction. So that would be the advantage of explaining this type of service to the client. The third service would be an additional service, where SAIBD states that an RP's registered professional services are non-exhaustive and are additional to the standard service and qualify for additional fees and may be added in varying combinations upon agreement. Personally, I was very excited when I found out about this. You know, in the market that we're in today, there's a lot of competition, and there's a perspective that there's not enough work to go around. But as it says here, the services of an architectural professional are non-exhaustive. And so they are not limited to the standard service or to the partial service. And so there are further scopes of work that we could provide to our clients. And the beautiful thing about this is that such services qualify for an additional fee, and they may be added in varying combinations. So they're very flexible. You can put together different types of services, and in order to fulfill what your client is looking for. And so the types of additional services that are outlined in by SACAP is an appointment as an architectural professional and principal consultant, and special management services, special studies, work on existing premises, and other services. So if you go to the document gazetted by SACAP, you will be able to read there what is entailed in these additional services. At this point, I'm only looking at them high level, but I think it would do all of us good to go back and interrogate this type of service and see what it means for us as individuals. And I think we should note that number 5 says other services. So there's still many more services that we can offer as architectural professionals. And so contrary to popular belief, our scope is quite large. And I think many times we have a tendency to limit ourselves. So the second part of demonstrating our professional value is by guiding our clients. And this would be regarding the project cycle and the different stages the project cycle entails. This means that not only do we need to inform and guide our clients, but we need to find innovative ways of doing so. And so at my company, we've developed a couple of guidelines to assist our clients in understanding the project cycle. And so what we do is when we prepare a proposal for the client, I would send the guidelines with the proposal for the client to have a look and familiarize themselves with the project cycle. And what you can expect in these guidelines is a discussion on how the client can prepare for their project. Where do you start? What should the client consider? And we try to then answer the whys. We try to answer who's needed on project, what needs to be done and when. And so we sort of give some very broad information for the client to consider so that they have a rough understanding of what to expect in the process. And we further assist or guide them in how would one hire a professional and the requirements that would be looked at for a municipal submission. And so these are guides that we use for our clients. And in the full workshop, should any of you guys attend that, we will be giving these templates to attendees. So these also would be other types of guides that we issue to our clients to try and assist them and inform them about the project cycle. And one of them is how to hire a contractor. And so we go through the process there on what the client would need to know, how they would start the process, what to ask, how to acquire bids, how to seal the deal. And then we have one on contract administration, trying to basically sell to the client, why they need contract administration, what it is, and what its use is. And so we have developed these guides to try and entice clients to understand the workings of architecture and to move beyond just the perspective that they are looking for a plan. Okay. And so the guides that we use have not only assisted us in in informing our clients, but they're very, very vital tool for our marketing. And part of the reason why we've been able to command higher fees is because we've done the work of educating our market. And the second point looks at this particular question in which is, how can we command higher fees? I've already started to talk about part of it, which is we need to educate the market. The second part is that we don't necessarily get paid for the hour, but we get paid for the value we bring to the hour. This is a quote from a gentleman named Jim Rohn, who I call my mentor. He used to speak about this. And it is from this quote that I came to believe that our fees are determined by the perceived value of our service. So the more clients value our service, the more they are willing to pay for it. And so you'll find that some companies are able to command such high fees, and you ask yourself, how is that even possible? And I'm talking about fees higher than the standard guidelines that are suggested by SACAP. And what I realized was that what these companies charge is what they call value-added fees. And so they charge clients not for time, but for the value that they are adding to the project that they're working on. And this idea has fascinated me, that I don't need to work on an hourly rate, but I need to come to terms with what my value is in terms of the project cycle and charge for that. And so the first important thing to consider if we are going to charge higher fees or we are going to command higher fees is to exercise reasonable professional skill, to exercise care, to be diligent in the performance of our obligations. And this then can be defined in an agreement and a fee attached to these reasonable professional skills. So part of this idea is that we need to then consider our responsibility as professionals. And I just want to refer to Act 108 of 1996, which comes from the Constitution of South Africa. Section 24 talks about the environment and says that everyone has the right to an environment that is not harmful to their health or to their well-being. And so in essence, this means that as architectural professionals, we have a social responsibility, and that responsibility is to do our job properly. And should we do that job properly, that in turn attracts a fee. And depending on the value that you've added, you can charge that fee. So the question is, what is the responsibility of the architectural professional? According to Board Notice 27 of 21 of 2021, the identification of work, the architectural professional is responsible for the design, documentation, and detailing of buildings or installations, and the holistic coordination between all the complex factors that compose these. Importantly, it is the architectural professional who sets out the specific parameters within which all other environment professional consultants engage with the project. So architectural professional is therefore accountable. They have a responsibility, and that responsibility is that we should do our job with skill, which means that we are responsible or accountable for the project complexity factors in buildings or in our designs, which SACAP then outlines. The first being the utility of the building. How is the building used? Is it suitable for what it's being used or is going to be used for? Number two is the structure. How do the support systems and elements of a building inform the design? And I know, because I've done this myself, sometimes we have a tendency to leave the structural part to engineers. And it's quite interesting that let me say, at an elementary point, it's our responsibility as the architectural professionals to think about how the building is going to be supported and the various elements that inform the structural integrity of the building. And so it's not necessarily a part that we should leave to the engineers to deal with. It's something that at an elementary point at least, we should rationalize. And so another part of the complexity factors is the building services. We have to consider whether the amenities in a building are coordinated in such a way that they ensure that the building performs adequately, is safe and comfortable, and functions in the way that it is designed to function. Okay, another point that we are responsible for or accountable to is to look at the urban context. Is the design so informed to adequately respond to its environment and to enrich its urban environment? And so we'd have to look at this from a social point of view, an economic point of view, and how the building relates with its spatial surroundings. Number 6, occupational health and safety is also part of our responsibility to make sure that the building is designed to be safe during construction and after construction. And so all of these factors would then apply whether we were working on a new building or an existing building. these are all to be considered when we carry out our designs. I'd like us to have a look at this case study, which is a project that a client commissioned me to come and sort out for him. He had an RDP house and he wanted to do some extensions to the RDP. So I went on site, did an inspection, and upon doing the inspection, I realized that as you can see, obviously in the pictures, that the structure was in really bad shape. And so I then advised the client it would probably be possible to do additions to this building, but I would say he would do himself a favor if he were just to demolish it and start it from scratch. And so eventually that's what we did. He demolished it and we did the design from scratch. But what I'd like us to consider here is if you were to go inside and find a building like this, who would be accountable for this structure? And it's something that I think we need to think about as professionals. And in most cases, I know, to be fair with the architectural professionals, is that nowadays RDPs are being mostly done by engineers, and most times architectural professionals are not part of the design process in the in the project cycle of these structures. But if we were to think about the complexity factors that we've just considered in the previous slide, it looks to me that as professionals, we would be accountable for a structure like this, even though there's many other, or let's say there's other professionals that would be involved in this process. But from a point of view of the complexity factors, the architectural professional would be accountable. And we've had a chat about this with the vice president of SAIBD, Videsh. And he was partly the person who then encouraged me to do this workshop. And some of the conversations we had is that we feel that as architectural professionals, to some extent, to some extent, we've neglected our responsibility. And the reason why you find that there's buildings like this is because we are not involved sometimes in the full project cycle. And so we had a chat about the importance of maybe making sure that an architectural prof is involved to the point where they are able to certify a building or the completion of the building. And we feel that this is very important because not only does it ensure that a client gets a good product, but it's also an attempt to take back the scope of work that is the rightful portion of the architectural professional. And on a larger scale, it would help us also to fulfill that clause that we read from the Constitution, which is to create environments that are healthy and safe for people. That is the work of an architect, of an architectural professional, to make sure that people live in healthy and safe environments. And so part of the other discussion in our discussions was that maybe the reason the NHBRC now exists is because we as architectural professionals have neglected that part of our scope, which ensures that buildings are compliant with SANS and with the regulations of South Africa. So, in other words, what our thoughts are is that if we were to be fully involved in a project, there's no need for an NHBRC person to oversee an RTP development. And so, before I digress too much, that's part of the accountability part, which I think is very critical in terms of also not just providing a good service and product to our clients, but also in reclaiming our scope and in turn our fees as architectural professionals. My second question would be, have the project complexity factors been met in this project? Have they been met? Have they been considered? And where was the designer who was supposed to consider these factors? I'll leave it at that for the Q&A and move along. So the second part that has really helped us in commanding higher fees in my company is we've tried to find ways to be innovative in the way we present our services and fees. And you'll see on the right hand is an example of our services and fee proposal. And this is a general type of proposal that you'll see online where people offer a bronze, silver, gold package. And for me, this has worked very well because what happens is that many times clients come to you for a quote and you give a quote and sometimes they feel it's expensive and maybe they don't have the money. And so they walk away and they don't even come back to you regarding your proposal. And sometimes they come back and they want to negotiate on fees. And so I found that this makes it really easy in terms of categorizing our clients. So we found that we have 3 types of clients, which we've tried to categorize according to the to SACAP, to the SACAP complexity, the type of complexity projects. And so we have low complexity, medium, and high complexity. And most times we found that the high complexity projects fall within the gold service, and the medium are within the silver, and the low are within the bronze. And this makes it easy for us to categorize our clients, and it makes it easy for the clients to choose where they want to go in terms of the service they want. And so instead of just giving them a price for the plan that they want, we say, look, your plan falls within the bronze, but these are the other services that are available to you. This is the cost. And so many people who understand what is on offer, after having seen our proposal and asked for an explanation, many people will opt for the gold standard service. Those who really feel that no, they don't have the money, most times go for bronze. But some of those who came in looking for just a plan or just a bronze see the value and say, look, okay, we don't have the gold money, but we'll take a silver. And so for us, this has been really helpful. And this is one of the templates that we use, which will also be on offer in the full day workshop that we'll host later in the year. So the important thing to note here for myself, or what I've noted, is that whenever I've sufficiently educated and guided my clients, the gold package is always the obvious choice. And for those who can't afford the gold, they will usually settle for silver. But then this also, the way we've presented our code, our proposal is that it then doesn't lock out the guys who can't afford the silver and gold. They can then say, no, look, we're looking for a bronze. This is what we can afford. Let's go for that. And then that could also be later incorporated into an additional service setup where we give inspections or give another partial service once they have the money. So this is an option on how to present services and fees. Okay, lastly, another way that I've seen that really assists in commanding higher fees is to make sure that we upskill and improve our competence. And this can be done through collaboration, and this can also be done through mentorship. Because of time, I'm not gonna get into that right now. This will also be reserved for the full workshop. But what I'd like us to note is that the economy right now is very challenging, and it requires us as professionals to be more enterprising. And in doing so, there's a quote that I've kept with me that also comes from the gentleman Jim Rohn, who I consider my mentor. He said, always do more than you get paid for to make an investment in your future. And this doesn't necessarily mean charging low fees. What it means is you charge what is fair to you and the client, but you go the extra mile in educating and guiding the clients. To the end of our presentation. I don't know if I still have enough time to take questions. Lindiwe?
Yes, you do, Navuko. That's fine.
Okay. Okay, so question number 1 says, is the guide available and where is it available? Okay, like I said during the presentation, this presentation was it's an introduction into a full workshop. And so those people who attend the full workshop, which will be a paid for workshop presented by SAIBD, will be given these guides and templates or guide templates for free. All right. Okay, the second question, most of the time clients don't want to use a professional during the construction process until closeout. How can one motivate to the client that it would be beneficial to them in their project to have us as the professional on board until the end? So I think, like I said in the presentation, part of that is educating the clients and guiding them regarding this. And the way that we do it is when we educate our clients, we make it seem as though we're not interested in the project. We're just giving them information. And I found that really helps because it then takes away the emotion. But at the same time, it develops the market. And so it's not a short-term strategy. It's actually a long-term strategy, which we've worked on for the last, let's say, 5 years. And we are now seeing the fruit of that. Okay, so the next question: can the stages be applied to vernacular projects? Do you think that there is a place for the two to overlap? Well, I think anything is possible. You know, SACAP says the services of a professional are non-exhaustive. So we need to be innovative. We need to be creative and imaginative in how we respond to the different types of projects that we come across. I wouldn't say that it can't be done. I think it's a matter of finding a way to do it. Okay, the next question is the color grading of the fee structure for client or for the RP. One can offer a gold service for the low complexity category. Yes, definitely you can offer a gold service for the low complexity category. But it's the way that we've done it is that usually for the low complexity category, it's the guys who are usually looking for just plans. They want you to draw a plan. And so we try to be innovative and adapt to what they want. And so the reason why we've put them in the bronze is because that's what they usually want. But it's not limited. The gold is not limited to high complexity. It can be done with all the complexities. It's just our experience that a lot of the people in the low complexity don't necessarily want a full service. At the most, some will take with us an additional service or a partial service, which is to do inspections during construction. And we do offer that, and it's well worth it because we then get to control the construction on site. Okay, and then how wise is it to do the design stage on risk where a client might or might not pay you for the work done at the stage, dependent on whether they go ahead with your proposal? Okay, it's not very wise, but you need to weigh your clients in terms of who you think you can do risk work for. We've done risk work for some clients which has paid off, and we've done risk work for some clients which has not paid off. And so it's a win-lose situation. You've got to be able to weigh it out for yourself and try to make the best decision on that. But generally, as a general rule for myself, we don't do work on risk. What we do is we sort of do a desktop study. We do a desktop study on the proposed project, then do a proposal and give the guidelines. And then we leave that to the client. And it seems to work for us because the serious clients do come back, and those who are really, really just looking for a plan don't come back. Okay, the last question is, how can someone entering the profession know whether they have the right mentor? That's a hard one. How can you know you have the right mentor? I think I'll have to come back to you on that. I can't really say how what would be the traits of a right mentor because situations are different for everyone. And I've had various mentors who've mentored me in different things. And so I'm unable to say that I've met one person who was the right mentor and they mentored me on everything, and these are the traits of that person. So it's a bit of a hard one for me to answer conclusively. Okay, I think those are all of the questions, and I'd just like to encourage everyone before I leave, if you may please just fill out our feedback form. I'm going to repost. I'm going to ask Lindiwe to repost the link so everyone can fill that out and give us some feedback. Let us know if you'd be interested to attend the full workshop, and just give us some feedback on the presentation itself, what your thoughts were and your criticisms. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Luvuko, for your time, the presentation. Very informative, and you can tell that by the questions that have come out from it. We have posted the link on the chat, and we will encourage all our delegates who attended to actually click on the link and give feedback to that. And we'll also be doing a post survey as well that we are able to share with you. So thank you so much for your time. This has been informative. This has been fun and exciting. And we hope to see you soon when we run the next leg of our digital talks.
Thank you, Lindiwe. Thank you so
You're most
much.
welcome. Sure.